Kia ora guys, I hope you're having an amazing day. Now when I was a kid, I wasn't really into board games. There were two big reasons for this. One, my mum was super competitive, so we never really had too many in the house because she could not lose to us. And number two, I am super competitive and would throw a hissy fit every time I didn't win. Woohoo! So we never really played board games as a family. However, a couple of years ago, my boyfriend introduced me to a whole different world of board games. Move on from Monopoly and things like that onto the kind of new wave of board games coming through. Or maybe they've been around a while and they're just new for me. I really started to enjoy board games. Now, a lot of these board games made me realize that you didn't have to compete against each other. You could be competing against the board, kind of like a video game, but not on a computer and a lot more social in some regards. So I thought I would take this time to share with you my personal favorite board games of the ones he has introduced to me. Starting off with Tsuro. Now Tsuro is a really good board game for kind of breaking the ice with a group of people. So it's 2 to 8 players, and basically you are trying to find your way around the board without running into people or without running off the board. So it sounds kind of basic, but what you get is you build the board as you go. So you start off with this very cool kind of dragony board, and you each get given tiles. And on these tiles are little lines. And as you collect tiles, you can join the lines. And so you each start off the board and you want to kind of move around the board. Now this is one where you are against each other, but the game only lasts about 15 minutes and it's quite fun to see kind of how you can go about it. And so you either lose by running yourself off the board, or if someone crashes into you, then you both die. So it's quite an interesting game. It definitely uses the mind a bit, but it's quite a quick, sharp game, so it's not one you have to spend hours kind of going over, and the rules are really quite simple. So yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I really enjoy that game, so definitely worth looking into if you are one who doesn't like to sit around for ages playing games but wants something interesting to do and also get your mind going a bit. Another game with square placement is Takenoko. Now, I love Takenoko, A, because it's got a super sweet panda bear, and B, because it's another kind of, I guess, it's a fun game. You're not really trying to screw people over too much. You're just trying to get things right. So basically, it's a story about this farmer who is trying to grow crops. So he's trying to grow crops, and this sweet little panda is trying to eat them. So you start with a square in the middle, and you each have a turn, and you get to do each one of these things down here. So you've got goals that you've got to reach, whether it is goals with card placement, goals with how many bamboo shoots you collect. So you're not really for the farmer or for the panda, you're just kind of for yourselves. And so you want water for the crops to grow, but then of course the panda comes in and eats the crops. I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. It's one that can only be played up to 4 players, I believe. But it's another one that once you get the hang of, it doesn't take too long. I'd say an average game probably lasts half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour. And it's another one where you're not really, well, you're against each other, you know, you're trying to win, but you're also not, it's not a game of death or life or anything like that. It's more about trying to work out which cards you should go for, which cards you shouldn't go for, and trying to create these different things. So yeah, I really enjoy that game. And I love having a full box. Our bunny ate our last box, so I guess that one kind of leads me on to another Japanese game called Tokaido. Now, Tokaido is one we recently purchased, but I'd played it before with Brendan in a board game cafe, and I absolutely loved it. So basically, the aim of the game is to have the best holiday in Japan, which I love Japan, and so I definitely love this game. So you get to choose, you get a choice between 2 characters at the beginning of the game. You choose the one you want, and then that character starts with a certain amount of money, and they also have a skill, whether it be like a starving artist or someone who's really rich and loves to shop, or someone who likes to meet people. And as you go throughout your journey throughout Japan, you're trying to either see the most scenery, buy the most things, eat the most interesting meals, and yeah, you're kind of against each other, but you're not really. You're really just wanting to have a great holiday, and doesn't everyone want to have a great holiday? So it's another one that doesn't last huge. I'd say the game could potentially last a little bit longer, so up to an hour potentially. And there is a little bit of strategy to it and trying to work out what's best, whether or not, because you can see what other people are kind of getting up to. But I just really enjoy it. I mean, who doesn't want to have a good holiday? And if you can have a good holiday in a board game, then I'm not going to complain about that. So that's Tokaido. If you're really wanting a game that is not really against people and you're trying to bond people together, then Pandemic is the way to go. This isn't normal Pandemic. Normal Pandemic is a game that you can play multiple times, and basically you are a team. Everyone at the table is a team, and you're trying to stop these viruses and bacteria and basically epidemics epidemics turning into pandemics throughout epidemics. Oh god, epidemiology lecture is going to kill me. But basically you're trying to stop the spread of these diseases throughout the entire world. So you are racing against the board to try and cure these various diseases and stop them breaking out. So it's a lot of fun, and it can be, again, it's teamwork. Each different team member has a different way of going about it. So you've kind of got to listen to your other team members, kind of look at what your character does and what their best strengths are and how they're going to go with it. So I don't know, it's a lot of fun. Can be a bit frustrating if you think something and somebody doesn't think something else, I guess, because you're having to work as a team. But if you have the right group of people, it's so much fun. Now this one here is actually Pandemic Legacy, which Brendan got for Christmas from a good friend of his, and this is a next step up. So this is a game where you play it once, basically. Now you're playing multiple games of Pandemic, but at the end of each go you then unlock different things that could potentially happen. So you want to play with the same group of people. You don't necessarily have to play with the same characters, but every time you finish a game, something different happens, and you have like top secret files which you get to open at various times. And yeah, we're really enjoying it. We have done, we've played 2 long nights of it, and we've got another one coming up, and I'm so excited. We're really enjoying it. So if you really like Pandemic, you will like Pandemic Legacy. If you haven't played Pandemic before though, I would really recommend it, just the normal one. It's a lot of fun, but as I say, you have to choose the right people, because if you don't really get on with everyone in your group, you may end up with arguments. But I guess any sort of gaming would do that anyway. Now, moving on from Pandemic, a completely different game, the other end of the spectrum, is the Game of Thrones board game. I am a Game of Thrones fan of the program. I have never read the books. Yes, I'm one of those people. But regardless, I really do love the Game of Thrones. Now, we were introduced this in a flat where we lived with 8 other people. It was a big flat with lots of very intelligent people, and they started playing this game. And dear goodness, the politics that came from this game, basically it is like reenacting Game of Thrones. They had the Starks and the Baratheons and all this kind of, you know, all the different families, and you are trying to, yes, take over or gain the throne, get the Iron Throne. And yeah, it can turn quite nasty. I've never played Risk, but apparently it's kind of like Risk. Now the game itself can last, our flat game lasted I think a week, because they did it you get 1 move, and I think there's like 6 moves you get in total. Like, you get 1 turn around, obviously, but there's only like 6 rounds, if I remember rightly. And the game itself can last about 4 hours, I usually leave aside for it. And we kind of add our own house rules to increase the politics, where we have you can either text and things like that to try and gang up on people or create alliances. And it's just a lot of fun, but you've got to be in the right mood for it because you can really make some enemies with it. But yeah, it's definitely worth the investment. It's not one we play all the time, but when we do, it's just so much fun. You just have one person who decides that he's gonna like try and fuck over everyone, and then people catch on to that, and then you start going against them, and it's so much fun. You would be surprised how much havoc can be wreaked in like 6 turns. It's a bit more complicated rule-wise to get the hang of, so it's not exactly, I'd say, a beginner board game, and I do struggle with it sometimes. Because we don't play it all the time, I always have to get my partner to refer to the rules, and there are times where it gets like, ah! But it's an amazing game. I bought it for him for his birthday because I knew he'd love it, and well, after the game that lasted a week at the Flash, I figured so. So yeah, they are my top 5 board games from what I have discovered. I'm sure there are plenty more out there, but these are my favorite ones and why I like them. I hope you enjoyed that. Now there's a lot of card games and things like that we have as well, and if you want me to go over kind of the smaller compact games, then let me know. I am not a board game aficionado, as you can tell. I'm just someone who enjoys playing them and learning. If you're really into board games, there are some great YouTube channels out there that go over board games, but I'm not one of them. I'm just basically someone who likes to play them with my partner and our friends. But yeah, let me know if you enjoyed that. Click the thumbs up button, and if you want to just see more of my random life, click this lovely subscribe button here, and I will catch you next time, guys. I hope you have an amazing day, and yeah, love you lots. Bye. Now I'm gonna carry these all the way back to the lounge, and they're heavy.